Hey guys, Joe DeMarco from the Crazy New York Driver Show. Today is Friday, July the 7th, 2017. Welcome to another eBay video. And as you can see, it is raining out. No surprise there. But what is kind of a surprise is, and all we can get is 68 degrees. Is there anybody watching this video right now that has a temperature that is 68 degrees or lower? Comment below, because I don't think there is. Anyway, welcome to another eBay video. I had my sign all prepared last night, but of course I couldn't bring it out because of the rain. Today we're going to talk about some eBay buyers, very few, but how to deal with some eBay buyers who abuse the returns process. We're going to also talk more about lowball offers, some eBay offers, returns. I know there's a popular topic all you guys like to talk about. A BOLO, New York City meetup, and a few other things. So let's get started right now. First, we'll start by reviewing your comments and concerns and questions from last week's video. We're going to start out by talking about the bots, the eBay bots that are preventing us from responding to customers' questions. 3 people wrote in with comments I'd like to respond. The first one was Neil Castell, eBay UK seller. I have been suspended from eBay 3 times in the last 6 weeks for selling outside eBay wrongly. Seems if you end an item after somebody asks a question on it, it gets registered as a sale outside eBay even if you relist the item. Talking to customer support will get the suspension lifted, but it leaves a bad taste in the mouth being treated so poorly. He is spot on with that comment. To paraphrase, if you're selling an item, for instance, you're selling this Fox News cup for $100. A guy asks you a question about it and says like, hey, will you take $80 for that? Let me know, and we can deal off eBay. Or he puts his phone number in. Even if you don't respond that way and just end the listing, bang, eBay is going to take that as you having sold him that item off eBay, and like Neil said, you may get suspended. I have heard of these incidents before. In some cases, people get warnings. I have spoken to an eBay rep. I had a similar incident a while back, about a month ago I told you guys about, where a guy sent me his phone number and they sent me a nasty letter saying I was taking it off eBay and I wasn't. I called him up and the eBay representative said, hey, I'm sorry, you should not have gotten this letter. Okay? He says, right now we're testing out a new bot. We're testing out. Obviously, they're still testing it out, but it's really creating a lot of bad will in the selling community. I'm telling you guys, eBay fanboy number 1 is speaking up and saying it's not a good thing. Slava K wrote in on the same issue and said, major issue with new rules selling outside of eBay. I'll give you a sample scenario. As most professional sellers use Amazon, eBay, their website, etc. to sell items. Someone contacts you through eBay with their phone number. At the same time or shortly thereafter, an unrelated buyer buys that same item through your website. If you only have one of the quantity in stock, eBay listing automatically ends. A few minutes later, you get a message from eBay that your account is suspended due to selling outside of eBay. This is crazy. I actually had my account restricted. I was ending a lot of listings that were underperforming, basically stuff that I was going to throw away. It happened that one of the items had a message with a phone number in it. A phone call to eBay solved the issue. Basically, if it happens again, my account might get suspended indefinitely. I hope they figure something out. Thanks, Joe. Maybe you can raise that question in your next video. Well, yes, I'm raising that question right now. This is ludicrous. If eBay wants to go after potential buyers who are sending their phone numbers, that's one thing. I get that. but they should not be going after sellers, especially if a seller unlists an item because he sold it perhaps at his brick and mortar store, or perhaps on Amazon, or wherever the heck else he's selling. This is bad, okay? And lastly on that subject, D. Kelly wrote, "Wow, thanks for the heads up. I've taken down a listing in the past. Once I got 5 messages in a few minutes from a buyer who was leaving like 75% negative feedbacks, and one from someone that admitted he was just guessing that my items would fit his car. Now I will just block them." Okay? That is it for that topic. On the topic of returns, Skinny Cow wrote, "eBay needs to sort out this late return and leaving negative feedback issue. A buyer sees the sale condition before they buy, and buying the item means they agree to the condition of the sale. If your listing says 30-day returns, which is also in keeping with eBay policy, then the buyer is agreeing to that. For eBay to allow a buyer to turn around and essentially complain about a policy that they in fact agreed with at the time of purchase is ridiculous. eBay, get consistent with your policies, or expect your selling platform to return to the Wild West it was 5 or 6 years ago." Yep, we talked about this last week. If you have a 30-day return policy, that does not hold water. eBay will not back you up, okay? If a guy wants to return an item up to 60 days, he can. And if you say, well, my return policy is only 30 days, I'm not accepting it, that guy can and will neg you, and eBay will not remove it. I have had a few of you guys write in and say that you did get such negative feedback removed, but I'm not confident about it. And when the eBay fanboy is not confident about it, hey, it says something, okay? They really do need a firm policy on this, a firm stand. You know, they have to come out and say, if you're going to accept 30-day returns, that's fine, but you can still get negged up to 60 days. I personally think that 30 days is a uniform amount of time for accepting returns and for leaving feedback. I really wish that they would acquiesce and do this, but I don't see it happening anytime in the near future. eBay Guru asked a question. "Great video, Joe. Can I ask you an honest question? Do you think eBay would be better with or without the feedback system? And explain why. I think it would be better for sellers without, but allow product feedback, as this is the only one item, not your whole business. Hope you use this as a question on one of your next videos to see what viewers think." The feedback system has been a bone of contention since day one. eBay needs some sort of checks and balances against bad sellers. So in that respect, I think they do need the feedback system. Otherwise, you got these China sellers that are selling this China crap and representing it as the real thing, and they would have no way of telling that these sellers are bad sellers. So until someone comes up with a better idea, I do believe we need to keep the feedback system, though I do believe it needs to be fine-tuned, as you know. The last comment on last week's video that I'm going to read was from Susanna Hutchinson. "Thanks for a very valuable show, Joe. Just a quick question, and if it's been asked before, I apologize if I missed it. What is your opinion of using Best Offer? I've used it with fairly good luck. Most people do pay, and most people pay in a reasonable amount of time. But some never pay, and a good many, at least in my case, wait to pay until I file an unpaid item case. And eBay seems to be quite generous with the non-payers and slow payers. Thanks." Susanna, I'm really surprised you'd ask that question, because that's something I've covered so many times in the past. I repeat, I hate the Best Offer option. I despise it, and I'll tell you why. I used to use it quite a bit in the past, and most people would never pay me. Some people would even become indignant, and they would say things like, "Joe, I have no intention of paying you for this. I was just curious to see how low you would go. Besides, Best Offers are not binding anyway," which is like a slap in the face. I would then report them as an unpaid buyer. eBay would do nothing about them, and I'd have to go and relist the item. bad as that is, something happened to me last year, and it just happened to one of you guys the other day. Somebody wrote to me, and I'm sorry I forgot who it was. But what happened is, last year I tried best offer on a dog item. I was asking $150 or best offer. A guy gave me a best offer of $100, and I was thrilled to get it. So I accepted it within 2 minutes of his offering it. I figured he'd pay right away. He never paid. Okay? So I opened an unpaid item case. He never even answered that. eBay closed the case in my favor, and I had to relist the item. Now, here's where it gets crazy. Do you know that about a week or two later, this non-paying bidder filed an item not received case against me, even though he never paid for the item and got an unpaid item strike? I was appalled that he could even do that, but I had to take time out from my day, call eBay customer service, and get it rectified. And the eBay customer service rep totally saw I was telling the truth. He said, I will close the case in your favor. I said, well, that's great. I said, but why is a bidder who does not pay, gets an unpaid item strike, allowed to open an item not received case? And he had no answer for me. Do you know that can still be done today, right now? So all of you guys who are using that feature, the best offer feature, could literally have this happen to you. That's what I think about best offer. As I've said in the past, if I have an item listed for $100 and I get an informal best offer, where a guy contacts me through eBay and says, I will give you $80 for this item, are you interested? That's different. Because then I know I have some control. I will write back to him and say, I will lower the price to $80 if you're willing to buy the item today. Let me know. And if he writes back and says yes, fine, I'll lower the price for him. If he buys it, great, it goes out. If he doesn't buy it, it doesn't go out. The next day, I raise the price back to the $100. While we're on the subject of this, funny story. On July 2nd or July 3rd, I received an email contact from a buyer on an item that I was selling for $135, and he offered me $90. Now, I do not want to go down to $90. However, it was the beginning of the July 4th weekend, and I knew it was going to be slow. So I figured maybe I'll snatch this. You know, I was weak, I admit that. I said, let me snatch this sale. So I wrote back to him and I said, if you're willing to buy the items today, I will lower the price to $90. Now keep in mind, I wrote to him within 2 minutes of receiving the communication. Never heard a thing back. Not a word. 2 days ago, the same guy writes back to me and says, are these hubs still for sale? I wrote back to him, I said, sure they are, for $135. You're not getting them for 90 bucks because you did not answer me within 24 hours like I stated. And he wrote back, well, I had to go to my son's graduation. Apparently graduations last 4 or 5 days, wherever he's from. So he is not getting those caps because I am a man of principle. I do not mind dickering on prices with a sincere bidder. But people who throw prices at me and think they're going to get it whenever the heck they want it down the road, that ain't going to fly with me. So then he will never get those items for $90 for the rest of my natural life. That being said, let's continue. First of all, it's a new quarter, so eBay coupons are now available for your free merchandise, your shipping supplies. All you have to do is log into your My eBay and get your free quarterly coupon. Use it or lose it. You have to the end of the quarter to use the entire coupon in one shot. For the last 2 weeks, I came out here and I shot my mouth off how I had no returns. All right? I had no returns for the last 2 or 3 weeks. But I knew that at some point the cork would come out of the bottle and they would come flooding in. And this was the week they came flooding in. From July 4th till now, today's July the 7th, So from July 4th till now, I've had 5 returns. 5 in only a few days. Let me tell you a little bit about them. And this is going to also bring into the topic of buyers misusing the eBay return system and how to handle it. All right, the first guy was a legit return. He bought the wrong item, manned up to it, and said, hey, I bought the wrong size. He will pay the shipping back. The only thing about him that was a little weird was he opened the return on the 4th of July. Who the heck was online on July 4th? Even we did not have rain on July 4th. But I responded to him the next day, July 5th, accepted the return, still waiting for him. Then I had another return that I would consider legit. But this guy wrote to me through the eBay contact system and said, I don't like this item, I'm returning it. I've changed my mind. So I wrote back to him and said, no problem, but you have to do it through the eBay return system. Do you know how to do this? He said, no, I do not. So I had to walk him through it, and he ended up doing it correctly, so I have no problem with him. The next guy is what I would call someone who was abusing the returns process. So he bought some items from me, and he bought the wrong size. So he opened a return request, and he wrote, not as described. So if I accept the return, I have to pay the shipping back. What he bought were items that were too small for his rim. He needs the larger size. So I said to him, I knew right away what the situation was. The way it is right now, if I accept the return, I'm screwed because I have to pay the shipping back. That's not going to happen. I will never, ever pay the shipping back due to buyer remorse. It will not happen. So what I had to do is I had to engage the guy in conversation. I said to him, I sent you the correct size items that were in the listing, but these particular items only fit the light duty truck. Do you perhaps have the heavy duty truck with the 16-inch rims? He wrote back, yes, I have the heavy duty truck with the 16-inch rims. These are for 15-inch rims. That's why they don't fit. So I knew that my item was described correctly. I just got him to admit he bought the wrong size. So I called eBay, got a representative. He looked at it. He said, Joe, I totally see what's going on. He is abusing the returns. I will close this out in your favor. Great. That is one example right there of eBay backing us up. But yesterday, the same thing happens again with another item. This woman circumvents eBay policy and calls me directly at work. I said to her, hey, stop right there. We cannot discuss this on the phone. All returns have to be initiated through the eBay contact system. After all, you bought them from me on eBay. Don't worry, I will accept the return even though you bought the wrong size. But it's going to go through eBay or no way. So she opens a return on eBay, and again, she claims not as described. Okay? So once again, I had to draw her out and get her to admit she bought the wrong size through the eBay contact system, which she did. Okay, great. So yesterday I call eBay, I explain the situation to them, I get an agent, and he says to me, well, Joe, you're definitely in the right, but we cannot close this out in your favor till Monday. You have to wait till Monday. I said, why? Today's Thursday. He says, well, we have to let the case time out. I said, are you sure about that? I said, I just had one of these the other day. I called in, and they actually closed it out in my favor that day. But this lady, I don't think she knew what she was talking about. So I'll probably wind up calling eBay again, maybe over the weekend, and try and straighten this out. Because some customer reps are really good. Some of them, not so much. So it's very important, guys, when calling, to keep that in mind. Next week, Thursday, July 13th, New York City meetup. If any of you guys are from the New York City area and want to come to our meetup, it will be held at 5 o'clock p.m., 742 10th Avenue, between 50th and 51st Street at the New York Public Library, Columbus branch. If you guys want to come in, talk some eBay with us, you're more than welcome. Again, that's next Thursday, 5 p.m., July the 13th. Another feature I want to try and include in videos periodically is what I call BOLO. Be on the lookout for certain items that are hot selling that bring incredible coin that you would never believe. I saw a post on one of the Facebook groups the other day where a lady listed a bottle of 1970s vintage Clairol Herbal Essence shampoo. The bottle was not even sealed. It had been opened and some had been taken out and used. Do you know how much that bottle of open shampoo sold for? $199 for a bottle of open shampoo from the 70s. Who would have thought, man? So if any of you guys are doing the garage sale scene or the swap meet scene and you see Clairol Herbal Essence shampoo from the 70s, snap it up. Buy as much of it as you can, because apparently it's worth its weight in gold on eBay. All right, that's it for today. I know I've kept you guys a long time today. I'm sorry, but we have a lot of ground to cover. We're going to rehash. Number one, please know how to handle a difficult buyer when they abuse the return system. I would like to hear from all of you guys right now if you've had any buyers recently try and abuse the return system, and give us a brief rundown of your story. Did you draw them out in conversation and get them to admit that they made the mistake? It's key that you do that before you call eBay, okay? As long as they admit that it's buyer remorse, eBay will back you up. Though sometimes you may have to call eBay 2 or 3 times before you get an agent that really knows what they're talking about. If you have any comments about best offers, you know what's weird? A lot of my good friends love best offers. I am one of the few people that really has had nightmares with best offers. If any of you guys have had nightmares with best offers, I want to hear from you guys, because I seem to be one of the few. If you have any questions or comments on anything I covered, or you want me to cover something next week, please, in the comments section below. If you found this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up. It shows me that I'm on the right track and helping you guys. Remember, I come out here every week to make these videos to help you be successful on eBay. I am a seller friend, not a seller critic or skeptic of any kind. I'm Crazy New York Driver, and you're not. Thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully next week we'll have a dry day, but I don't know. Let me have another drink. And I will now tell you guys to go ahead, rock on, make some sales, and peace! Yeah!